Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to this week's show. And it is officially September, my birthday month, being a Virgo. And it's also what I like to call the most wonderful time of the year because it's Halloween season. Actually, it's been Halloween season since July because that's when most of the stores started getting Halloween stuff in. But hey, I'm not complaining because I love my Halloween stuff, especially when it's a mix of spooky, scary. Joanne's had a cool selection. Michael's had a cool selection. Dollar Tree is starting to get more and more in. So all the Halloween stores are open. It's fantastic. Um, what are some of your Halloween or fall traditions? I personally love going to the apple orchard and getting donuts and apples. And there is a local pumpkin patch or pumpkin farm that I have to visit every single year, take the dogs with me. And that's where I pick up all of my uh, pumpkins and Indian corn or the colored corn. Um, Gourds and all that cool stuff. It just doesn't feel like it's fall unless, there's certain things that you do. But there's other fall traditions too, like telling ghost stories or going legend tripping or investigating urban legends. And every town, every state has similar urban legends. Some of those being the Crybaby Bridge, which if you haven't heard of that, so the Crybaby Bridge, generally the story goes that at some point, usually 17 or 1800s, a young mother whose husband either died or she became pregnant by a man, and he, instead of marrying her, just disappeared. And because she was so shameful, so racked with, embarrassment, she goes to the river and either she drowns the child or she drowns herself in the child. And it's said that you can hear the baby crying when you are near the bridge or you cross the bridge. So that's a very common one that hear a lot of different variations of from around the country. Another one is the lady in white or the lady in black or the lady in blue, um, typically referring to a woman who has died tragically and her ghost is seen either roaming the property or the building or the street. The most well known of this is um, just outside of Chicago with the lady in white, where she wants to go dancing, and after she's spent the night dancing with the gentleman, goes to take her home. She says, "Oh well, just stop here by the cemetery. I live close to here." And when he turns to look at her and says, "Why would you want to stop here?" She's gone. So lots of different variations of the lady in white urban legend. Other one is the melon heads. Here in Michigan, we do have the story of the melon heads, and it is always refers to children who, sometimes the story goes they were born with a birth defect, sometimes it goes that they were experimented on and were isolated by some medical facility or a doctor or something like that, and tragically the doctor dies and these melon heads, as they're called, are left to fend for themselves and often roam the woods, and when people encounter them, it's usually not a good situation. And they're always described as having these long oblong heads, which is why they call them melon heads. But Michigan has this story. Lots of other states have this story of the melon heads. Other interesting urban legends or legend stories, haunted graveyards that, if you go knock on this certain tomb or building, or you sit on it, the spirits will come and push you off and chase you through the cemetery. I guess for teenagers that might seem like a real thrill, but being a paranormal investigator, I kind of find that distasteful, because essentially what you're doing is being disrespectful to the last resting place of a body. And so that one I kind of frown upon, because how would you feel if somebody was desecrating your grandparents or your child or your loved one's grave by going and sitting on it or messing around with it or damaging it? That would be quite upsetting, to the living, not just, the dearly departed. So that one, yeah, I don't really like that one. Up here in Michigan, we do have an interesting one that's called the Witchy Wolves of Omar Plain. And the Witchy Wolves are a spectral wolf that guard old cemeteries and Native American burial grounds. And according to the legend that we have here, up in Omar, Michigan, if you go down a certain road, there is a old homestead graveyard. Now, I've personally been there, and the graveyard, so to speak, is 3 impressions that are in the ground. One is the size of like a 6-foot man. The other is sized for a woman, probably about 5 to 5.5 feet, and the other one is child sized. And they are very distinct impressions in the ground, where you could tell if there probably was something buried there. Maybe they were removed, maybe over the course of time, the wood broke down and the ground sunk back in, but very distinct. There's 3 rectangular shapes in the ground that you would probably associate with a grave site. Now, when we were there, we were in the middle of the woods, me and 2 other investigators, and standing next to the gravestones, my K2 meter was flashing all colors of the rainbow. And I had my phone on airplane mode, so the K2 meter was not picking up the electronic signature from my cell phone. Plus, I had my cell phone all the way up, here by my shoulder, and in my other arm extended all the way out, I had the K2 meter. And we got just tons of activity in that area. We also noted that the small saplings around there were starting to whip back and forth, and the wind had significantly picked up. And that's one of the claims of the Witchy Wolves, is if you are in a area where there is a old graveyard or something that they are protecting, they will make their presence known by brushing against you, making the wind rise up. So we decided that we would walk about 20 feet away and circle back around to the gravestones or impressions in the ground. And when we did that, all activity on my K2 meter stopped. Wasn't lighting up, wasn't doing anything. All the movement of the trees, all the wind died down, no activity. And we took our time walking back around. And once we started to approach the impressions in the ground again, the wind started picking back up, the saplings started moving again, and my K2 meter started to go off again. And so they say that this is the witchy wolves protecting the old homestead graves and or Native American burial grounds. So I think we did experience the witchy wolves at that point, and it wasn't anything detrimental, but enough of a warning that, you know, you knew that something was there and something was, you know, trying to protect, you know, the remains that were in that area. So we were very respectful. You know, we documented it, left, and went and had lunch. And when we were first looking for the Witchy Wolves area, we drove up and down this road and could not find it. Finally, we stopped at the house on the corner, and we were talking to the lady who, you know, lived there. And a very nice older woman, just got home from church, and she said, "Oh, you're about the 10th team that's come up here this summer looking for the Witchy Wolves and the grave site." She said, "We get people year round looking for this grave site." She said, "All it is 3 impressions into the ground that look like they were probably graves at one point." And so she told us exactly how to find it and bid us, you know, good luck with it. And we were able to find it. But I haven't experienced that in any other cemetery or graveyard that I've gone into where there's been a significant uptake in wind pressure and activity and a noticeable movement of the tree branches or the saplings. Um, and not even that much activity on the K2 meter either. I've, you know, gone to various, you know, cemeteries here around Michigan, Pennsylvania, Gettysburg, um, and never had that much activity on a K2 meter as I did when I was up looking for and finding the Witchy Wolves, the cemetery that's associated with them. So you never know what, you know, activity you're going to find or what urban legends might, you know, pan out for an investigation. But there are, you know, some precautions to take. So I always go with other people that I have a good running vehicle, because you never know when you might need to get out of there. Sage is a great thing to have. Holy water is a great thing to have. Making it known to the spirits that they're not allowed to follow you home is always very important, because I hear it a lot from people who just want to see, you know, they want something exciting or scary to do. So they go to a cemetery and they provoke and they're disrespectful, and they get home, and within a couple of days, they start to realize that something's not right. Something followed us home. And then they want to get rid of it. Well, it's not as easy, you know, easily done as you would think. So I just, you know, I want to impress that on people. Go explore urban legends. Um, go legend tripping. You know, go check these things out, but be smart about it. You know, sure that the spirits know they're not allowed to home. Be respectful when you go into haunted locations, and just be safe out there. So until next week, let curiosity guide you, and I'll see you